for you and me. Another key change, oh God, oh no. Gig nightmares for you and me. All right, here we are today. Gig Nightmares with a special guest, Mr. Micke Mansfield. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you, man?
Doing very well. So,
Awesome.
to give a little bit of backstory on you for listeners of the show, in the 80s and 90s, you were the bassist for the New England-based hardcore bands Chronic Disorder and Big Gulp.
That I was.
From 1996 to 2020, you were the leader of the successful cover band Kick, playing everywhere.
Wow. You know all about me. Yes.
I did my research.
I guess so.
Playing everywhere from the Atlantic City boardwalk to Madison Square Garden to the Las Vegas Strip. And now you're still going strong with Diva and the Playboys.
Yes.
So throughout your career, you've shared the stage with plenty of legendary acts like Duran Duran, Green Day, Real Big Fish, Filter, Stained, Moby, Allman Brothers Band, Molly Hatchet, Dave Mason, The Descendants, Social Distortion, Blackfoot. The list just goes on and on. It's amazing.
Thanks.
So you also,
it's diverse for a reason. Yeah, eclectic.
So then you spent 5 years as an on-air radio personality at WFCS FM, helping to break new bands, and you are currently featured in the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of that's a whole other project that we're hoping to do more in.
I think it's just awesome. I mean, such
Thanks,
a rich history of music from, various genres, and it's just amazing. So just
Thanks, man.
us being friends on Facebook and seeing all your posts and you like looking back at the past, remembering fun moments, I figured that you'd be like the perfect guest for this show. So with all of that said, when I say the phrase gig nightmares, what's the first memory that pops in your head?
It's interesting because I think it's there's so many ways to perceive that. A nightmare gig for me is one where I'll come home and think, oh man, I botched that part on so-and-so and my main bass broke a string. I had to play that other one and it didn't sound as good. And nobody cares except me, but it just sticks in you because it wasn't the show I wanted to give. That's really the nightmare when it gets psychological. It's gear going awry the night I didn't have an amp. So you had to go direct or whatever. It's the technical, logistical stuff that creates nightmares. So anything else at this point, tomorrow actually is the 44th anniversary of the day I got my first bass. So I've been gigging pretty much nonstop, just thousands of shows. So at this point, oh gosh, it would take a lot to throw me to gig. In fact, last weekend, our drummer is a real important dude in the military, and we were playing a huge private event, and you don't get to say, because I'm going and bye. And so on 2 hours notice, but we weren't panicking. Like we can figure this out one way. Even if you can't get a drummer, there's ways to pull out stools, and it's going to be the first ever unplugged edition. In other words, there was a time when I'd panic about everything, but nightmares as far as bad time. And if I'm on stage, it's fun, but the ones that went bad, I have 10, and for so many different reasons. I mean, I guess as there were the ones that were in the punk rock world, the ones that would be considered a nightmare. I got the number one show that went wrong anyway was the last ever Big Gulp show. We didn't even play. It was this festival in Norwalk, Connecticut in 1992 in June. It's called the Bring the Noise Festival. It was like when we were like one of the first hardcore funk bands, and the Anthrax and Public Enemy mashup was just starting at that time. And so someone had the brilliant idea of having the big hardcore bands and the big rap bands at the same venue. We had no idea. Our communities hadn't really mixed yet, so we just knew that who the rap bands were supposed to be. But the crowds had never come together, and it was wild. The punk bands were playing, and these awesome rap bands, and then we were just about to go on next. We went out back doing what we used to do, drinking and things like that, and getting ready, and we looked up the street and there were 400 black kids. I mean, it was two packs entire. It looked like, and then Biggie Small, and it was we'd never seen anything like this in our lives. And we were elated because we were going to be like the first white hardcore band to play to that many black people. Frankly, we were thrilled. And I'd never seen anything like it. And then they came in, and the whole dynamic changed. We were excited about the diversity, but the promoter said, if you don't want to play, I totally understand. If you want to let the rappers, and we said no. My guitar players, God bless him, our record at the time was called "We Came to Play." I have a copy on the wall, and Eddie was just like, "You see this? It says we came to play. We came to play. There's no way we're not playing." And he was just hammered enough to make a wonderful point. But we said, "No, we're playing," and we went down, and it was just. I never saw anything like it, but they just kept coming in. The underground hip hop scene in Norwalk they were coming from New York, and then to make room, a lot of it was going to be an entirely black audience, and then someone dropped. You hear boom. Someone dropped a 40-ouncer of Old English on the floor and it sounded like a gun. Everyone scattered, and we were just sitting there going, "This is wild." And then the promoter goes, "I'll give you $200 if you don't want to get out. Just leave." And okay, you didn't have to ask us twice. So it was the biggest paying Big Gulp show ever was the one they paid us not to play. And then we broke up a few weeks later. The band had run its course, but that was fun. I am bummed we didn't get to play. They would have hated us, but actually, I really thought we could win them over because we had a bunch of Public Enemy and Ice-T songs that we could play, and no one was actually doing, live music versions of hip hop at all at that point. So I like to think we would have worked. That said, they would have probably thrown those old English 800s at our heads. Yeah, but okay. That was the one that went the most wrong. But in that vein, we have a history. Big Gulp had a history of creating huge events that we didn't get to play. The biggest of which was March 4th, 88 in New Britain, which was our hometown. We had just released our big funk thrash crossover record, where we were as red hot as we were getting at that time, and we're playing with Crucial Youth from New Jersey and at a VFW. And it was really the litmus test to see, is there a scene in New Britain at all? We weren't sure. We were hoping. We knew a lot of kids, like 20 or 40 the skaters listening to us, but we weren't sure exactly, do we have a tribe here, like downstate or in other cities? And we set up our gear and went back to the Big Gulp house and made spaghetti and drank beers, and then got in the car to go back. And we hit a traffic jam and say, "What the hell is that?" And we weren't moving at all. And so we tried another way, and you couldn't go that road either. So we're like, "Okay, we'll just go in. You figure out somewhere to park." And we're walking in, and as we walked in, it was like 600 people in a VFW that probably, I think, held 450 or something like that. And we were thinking, "Holy cow. This is going to be a thing." We couldn't have been more excited. And of course, the first couple of bands were slaying, Freedom of Choice, Fallback, Screaming Void of Emptiness. But then during Fallback, there was in the 80s, mosh pits looked a lot where it's crazy to me now when I see festivals with 100,000 people do a wall of death and nobody gets hurt. Like, we figured out a way to do it and be visceral and not violent. Back then, though, bouncers didn't. When you saw elbows fly, of course you thought it was a fight. We got kicked out of so many things because, it looked like a fight. It was fake violence, but it's exactly what you would kick someone out of an event for. It's unruly. So the cops saw exactly what a great mosh pit looked like, and to their credit, they weren't abusive, but they policed the hell out of the mosh pit, kicked everybody out of that. But it was still probably my favorite moment with our singer Chris, he was a character. He was like the Chihuahua who could lead a pack of wolves. We were very inspired by Murphy's Law at the time, and Jimmy G, the singer, it was our idol. Murphy's Law was and will still be. You'll hear their name come a lot. But we thought he could just go up and be mayor of the city. Like, he goes up to the mic, he's like, "All right, everybody, calm down. All right, the police are here. We got to make sure the cops realize that we're here. And we're not going to cause." And as he's trying to create this big thing, this big she walked off with him like he was a mannequin. And oh my God, it was kind of like in his big old Letterman coat. But that show didn't happen. We assumed we were going to redo it or try again another time, but it got shut down because it was over full. And I guess that's the best reason is to have a show get canceled. Is we stacked too many people in here. The saving grace was the person who they were looking for. Who's responsible for this? They're looking at all these giant punk people. And it was just this meek girl who happened to like the music and hired us. And so they couldn't get too mad at her. She literally paid for a semester of college with just the. She didn't ever reach stage of the show. It's like, bloody brilliant. Hey, here I am talking about it now with Max Bolton, so it wasn't wasted.
So with that, with the previous story, when he's like telling, trying to calm the audience down, and they just grab him right there on stage.
He was, we're not gonna have any more trouble tonight, right? No, because this. And it was like he was trying to get the crowd like to show the cops that this is gonna be okay, and the cops were just so unimpressed watching. He said, okay, enough, pal. No, you don't understand, young man. This show is over. And he was like 5'8" and not too hard to pick up, but that was it was our stock went up. It was at the end of the day, we didn't screw up anything. It was the night that no one that they just built up pent up demand for our next shows, and that's what I think and what that led to we were becoming very interesting. Well, what else could possibly happen? It led to our getting banned from the University of Connecticut for life.
So what happened to that?
We played the student union. We call it the Janice Kadinkus show because the lady was named Janice Kadinkus. I'll never forget her. She was mad. We were being idiots. We had just played in New York at SUNY New Paltz with Murphy's Law, and we're just having the greatest time pushing the limits of what punk rock and showmanship and wildness and parties. They would notoriously bring those Coors beer balls, and just there'd be beer everywhere, like Beastie Boys era, '87, like smashing beers on your head. It was dumb and fun. We were in college; it's what you did. But it was silly and juvenile. But we were having a good time. It was what you were supposed to do. And Guar was coming out then, so we said, "What can we do? It's UConn. Let's just go berserk." And it was a great show. Absolution was all these great bands, and we kind of ruined it. And people even said years later, recently, that, yeah, you kind of like were the reason we couldn't have shows for a while after that. But we just figured, yeah, it's a dry campus, but let's bring beer. But that was problem number one. So then they took that. But then we had raw hamburger meat because we had a song "Proud to Be a Carnivore," and we were getting a lot of like vibes from the vegan crowd. And we're like, "Hey guys, we like meat too. Let us have an opinion also." And they were being mean, so our singer started throwing hamburger meat and sardines at the people, and that was uncool because we hit Pete from Force Reality, the hugest guy who went on to become a major force in matter, and I won't even go into that. But he was very kind to the fact that he had a sardine on his let us not, and it didn't kill us. But then ticker tape, confetti, anything we could spray. I think the worst, but then we did a reggae song, and Chris had a fake joint that he'd rolled out of like poster paper. And he like thought he came on stage with it lit up. Just on stage, the whole thing just goes boom, and there's fire. And that's when they just said, "Okay, guys, no, we have to stop." And Janice Kadinkus came in and said, "We got the show, we had to stop." And then, but we didn't get paid. And then they said, "Well, we never got paid." And I said, why would we thought like it would be the silliest thing in the world for them to pay us. But then someone said, "Well, no, you showed up and did a show just because they hated you and banned you we got banned for life," which is ironic because both my kids went to UConn. So I paid their tuition. And for a fee, they'll let you back on campus. They got tens of thousands of dollars, put it that way. But a wonderful university. I have nothing bad to say about it. And Janice Kadinkus, I called up one day and put on a voice when we were trying to I said, "Let me see if I can get paid. Hello, this is blah, blah, blah from so-and-so agency, and one of our vendors, one of our acts wasn't paid." "Oh, well, maybe I can help you. What was the name of the act?" "Big Gulp." Said, "Let me tell you about your client." I should got to hear firsthand the lady. She goes, "The profanity." I'm like, "Oh, she's off. The profanity got her. Jesus Christ, this is going to be a list." And she just went down the list of all the things that she saw or witnessed. And there were things I didn't even know we did. But no, we didn't. It was dumb, but it was also a statement. Here we are talking about it now. They said that they couldn't have shows there anymore, but I guess all's well that ends well because the next time that they had a band, it was Fugazi, and they had to have it at the ROTC hangar instead. So we had shows there from now on. It was room 282 in the student union. It was like a small ballroom at a Marriott. And they had legendary, iconic bands they were trying to crowbar in there, the Misfits and things like that. So all's well that ends well. But those were the three most. That's when we were trying to create mayhem. I think just as part of the punk world, it's all right. My first punk band, Chronic Disorder, we did all sorts of touring and stuff, and everything went super smoothly because I think in order the first wave of punk bands were hard workers. They like the bands like the Ramones get a reputation. You look at it, you think they're a bunch of alcoholic druggies or something. No, literally, they would go through the show sometimes twice before every show, the whole show backstage, and that their everything was choreographed perfectly. And if you had the wherewithal to be a Black Flag and go city to city and play 2 shows a day sometimes and find your way across country, or like Husker Du with the Minutemen, or like what Chronic was doing, what's a city near here we can get to? Kent, Ohio, as a college, cool. And you had to be willing to work back then. So nothing really went awry except for our one when we went to Lexington, Kentucky, and we pulled into the venue and it was locked up. We're like, what the fuck? And we're trying to like find people who runs it, and they were out there all day trying to hunt down. This is pre-internet, who's the promoter here? Who runs this place? And we couldn't get him on the phone, but he lives here. So we go there. All in a huff, we've been looking for and we open the door. Hi, so hi, we're the band. Cool, what band? Chronic Disorder. We're supposed to play at the Elemental P tonight. This is news to me. I'm sorry. And you could only get so mad at her. He's like, they just had no idea. He goes, that sucks because I could open up and I got you there. He's like, yeah, no shit. But Johnny Stiff, the legendary promoter, was living up to his name. He was a CBGB's guy. And he had a couple botch stops on the tour. Nobody told him, so he couldn't get mad at him. So he spent the night on his couch, nonetheless, in Lexington, Kentucky. But now those things went smoothly. The cover band thing, that's what I've spent. The first 15 years of my career were strictly originals. And then I figured I got married when I was about, I was supposed to in my 20s and then having kids, and I figured I should calm down and do the cover band responsible thing and pay for bass strings actually with the gig proceeds and actually maybe make some money. So that has been the last now 30 years where it tends to be weddings where the nightmares come. They're not the bridezillas, but that's the challenge. Like we did a wedding at the top of the highest mountain in the East Coast, and so we have to get all our gear up there. And the sound guy who has these old school subs that say, "Yep, 13 gondola trips and you just go and then you load off and you have to go back down the mountain." But it's like whatever. I kind of thrive on that part. Like I get to shows super early. That's why I don't really have the nightmares, because my biggest nightmare is getting to a show late. One day I slept and my wife comes home and goes, "Don't you have a show tonight?" I said, "Holy God, what time is it?" I never drove so fast to Breakers in West Springfield. But no, so now I get there early, but that was a bit of a nightmare just logistically speaking. Like how hard is it to get your gear up 5,000 feet to the top of a mountain? But then when it goes well, it's wonderful. But the weddings that's the unpredictable, the variables. We did one. Boy, we got drunk. This is when we used to get drunk, my other band. But I remember looking to my left and our guitar player, it was a military wedding and the groom was highly decorated, but somehow our guitarist ended up with his hat and his coat with all the pins on it. He's just slashing away at some song. And I look on the dance floor and the bride and groom are pushing each other and they stormed off and they didn't stay married. So that wasn't good. There was the wedding, the wedding where we set up. We set up everything and beautifully ready to go in Simsbury. And there's the bridal party out the window taking their pictures, coming in, and they'll be doing this. And then the consultant comes in and says, "Okay, everybody, we're in the wrong room." "Where are we at?" He's like, "Yeah, we're supposed to be in the room next door. I'm sorry." And the stuff guys are like, "We just spent 2 hours setting this up." And I said, "Well, it's not that's not a response." She said, so we better get going. And somehow it was one of those scenes where you could just move the sliding door, slide everything over, they had no clue it happened. But I showed a video of it later, and the bride was like, "It's a good thing we didn't know that was going on." She wasn't a great wedding planner, as it turned out, but the fact that it's you laid cable, this, that, the other thing. But when you have to do something, we have no choice. We're moving this thing. And it's funny what you can do when you really have to. It was a nightmare, but it was a wedding on the Avon Old Farms. it came time our singer goes, I don't have their first dance song. It's some Sarah McLachlan song. We don't need, what? I got to go. Well, tell you what, I'll go to Sam Goody at the West Farms Mall. I'll buy it, and then I'll be back. Wait right here. I get in my car, go to Sam Goody, somehow, and buy the Sarah McLachlan song. Go to my car. My car wouldn't start. I'm like, what? It was a crappy car. But and this is before there were Ubers or anything. And I said, what am I? Oh my God! And cell phones weren't really a thing. And so thank God, a taxi cab pulled up shortly thereafter, which that's what kind of happened. Said, take me to over, and I pulled back in, sweating profusely. I ripped my pants, so my butt's out, and I had my Sarah McLachlan. No one noticed I did any of this. That's the worst. But I was jumping through sweating balls. I got it. And the bride just expected it. And I'm like, that was my biggest nightmare. I'm like, I'm not going to get back. They're going to have to pay without me. They're going to wonder where I am. And that's like, that's my big gig nightmare. I have that nightmare. In the middle of the night, I wake up, I hear my band starting, and I'm not on stage. That is like, that's my nightmare. I wake up and they'll joke about it, but I'm always the first person to get to a show. Because if you're going to Boston, I've had bandmates that just sit on the couch and, well, we don't have to play till 10. And it's like, well, it's 6 o'clock. Let's go to Boston. What are you waiting for? And then they hit traffic. And it's like, just get to Boston. Is it so hard to enjoy a day in Boston or wherever? I don't care if it's New Bedford. I don't care what town, but that's the cool thing that touring does is put me wherever. And it's like, that's always was the most exciting part about being on a rock star is that you get to all these cool places. And some were cooler than others, but those bands that came to Hartford, like, well, they had to do something. And so when you'd find out that, so they went to, let's find the museum. What do you do? What do people do? What do tourists do? Go to every town like a tourist, and it's just so fun. I'll show up at a show, and I'll tell the bartenders what I did. I've been here my whole life. I had no idea we had a whaling museum here, but that's it, bro. This place is great. I love it here. That's my big thing. Get to the show early, and you'll never, just be prepared. You won't have the nightmares because fate is going to throw you enough curveballs without you creating them for yourselves.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned like setting up in the wrong room, and it reminded me of one that I forgot about. I think it was 3 years ago. I was playing with one of my various acoustic trios, and we're playing this place kind of in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. With I guess in the 50s, 60s was probably like a nice big ballroom where they had stuff.
Right.
It kind of somewhat, I wouldn't say abandoned, but like not nearly the same population living in the area. So it doesn't really have that strong of like a built-in crowd that comes and hangs out there. So we get there, I'm loading in stuff, I'm looking around, I'm thinking, oh, this is pretty nice, this is pretty nice. So we start setting up, again, with the knowledge that we were probably going to have to be bringing the majority of the crowd and whatever, if we ever want to like try to get booked back there.
Sure.
So we're loading in our stuff and it's going well and whatever. But then someone comes up to me and says, oh, you guys aren't playing down here. You guys are playing upstairs in the ballroom. And I'm thinking, oh, because like we were in like sort of like a small downstairs like bar sort of area and whatever. I'm thinking, okay, we might be able to like pack this at least halfway, maybe. But then we go upstairs to the open ballroom, and it's just like I'm not good at like describing like, oh, it's 100 feet this way or 100. I'm not exactly good at that, but it's like it's a pretty damn big ballroom. I'm like, there's no way we're filling in this space.
Did you manage to get enough people to not make it feel empty?
No.
No.
That acoustic trio fell apart, I think maybe the next week anyway. So it's all right. It's all good.
Fair enough. But no, that says a lot for the pack us in, and you can create a nice night, but don't give us that much room to spread out because that's not good for the ego.
I mean, it's like putting what would be a good example? Putting well, I'm not trying to slag off any big band names, but like putting like a one-hit wonder, like okay, let's say Soft Cell. I like Soft, but everyone only knows them for Tainted Love. It's like Soft Cell as the headliner at Madison Square Garden. I don't think that would really go that well.
Where you'd have to really have an angle for that to work. But and that's an interesting thing, though. The ambition of I'm a big fan of hype, and I like how people like Bon Jovi, when he was like on the balls of his ass with his short hair going, he couldn't get the band going, grunge was dead, and he just doubled down on himself and said, no, I'm sick of playing these dumb theaters. I'm playing Giant Stadium. And in July, and it's going to be a Bon Jovi show. And I was like, dude, you haven't been huge you haven't been relevant in 15 years. I believe that people, if we promote this right, people are going to say Bon Jovi's Bon Jovi can fill giant stadiums. No, I can't. But if you think I can, maybe I can. And that's exactly why that was the Bon Jovi revival, where now people say, Bon Jovi, that'd be fun. Let's go tailgate. And Ed Sheeran, like when he said, do I have enough fans to fill Wembley Stadium? He said, no, but can I sell 80,000 tickets? He goes, no, but I can sell it out 3 times. And he went like that. Because one night, Ed Sheeran at Wembley, they'll say, who does he think he is? 3 nights, they go, holy crap, is he that big? Are there tickets still available? Jesus, I didn't realize. And that's exactly how he created his own hype that way by investing in himself. So that whole notion there of, I do love the idea of like Chronic Disorder. We rent theaters, rent VFW halls, and just having our name in a marquee was so exciting. And it, like, just pick a picture where it's a Black Flag, Chronic Disorder, just major other alongside other bands that like just put us in that realm. And that photo of a theater is like, well, I guess they're in that league where you kind of can become. That's the thing of Diva and the Playboys. Where I said I'll do a cover band, but I am not paying a single due. I am done paying dues. I'm not paying a single crap show. I will not play clubs I don't like. I want this much to get out of bed. Just to be a diva about it. Let's have fun, but like all 100% on our terms. We work one weekend and we take the next weekend off. 1 week, and we said, can we really pull this off? I was like, I don't know. They're gonna have to do it. And it's so wild because it was like, yeah, everyone's just kind of gone with it, and it's been like the kind of a situation that's become sustainable. And it's the only thing that's keeping me going is this. It's still fun somehow, but you have to make it kind of. You have to find the fun in it after a while because it's the love of playing. I find if I'm not gigging, I don't need to play the bass anymore, and so it's kind of take some of the love of just making music out of it. How do you play for fun still? You seem like you probably do, and every once in a while I'll hear a bass part and want to go, what is he doing there? Why did that catch my ear? But kind of like everything, I take all the fun out of everything. Like as a writer, I proofread because I read a book and I'm like, no, why do you put a semicolon? If I'm watching a movie, I wonder why he did that. Why did they do that? I can't watch it when I'm watching a band. I'm exactly like this, and everyone's like, "Are you miserable? Are you okay?" Oh my God, this is the best night ever. This band is slaying. Like, well, you look like you want to fight them. It's like, no, I'm at a seminar. This is incredible stuff.
Exactly,
I'm
like you're
watching
paying attention, you're
the
trying to
study.
learn something. No, I get it. I do that all the time. Like, unfortunately, I feel like I can't really like listen to music or watch a band
That's just it.
anymore
I got the
without being
joy part.
critical.
Put my
Just
hands in the air and wave them like I don't care. I care, bro. I don't know how. I can't even dance well because I'm thinking of the beat too much. But you know, my new thing is trying to enjoying the performance. That's my new thing about having fun at the shows is someone seeing me for the first time. When it's a kids, any kind of family thing. When it's a kid seeing a live band for the first time, that's oh my God, I get so psyched because I remember that was me realizing, like, I'd gone to see real bands, but when you go to like a town event, you see that's like a dentist and he's playing a guitar. Holy crap! See, I thought Billy Joel was the greatest piano player in the world, and that's why we go see Billy Joel. But he's playing the same song. He's as good as Billy Joel. Oh my God, we can do that too. It
yep,
really just cracked the code for me, and I like hold up my bass to the kids and like little kids, boom.
yep. I do the same thing.
And then literally a lady goes, we played a show and it was one of my favorite emails I ever got. It was her son with a cowboy hat and his little kid guitar. He goes, he got red because that's the color mix is. And I'm like, oh, bass player having, just that little, I would get such a charge out of being someone's first concert still. So seeking that, but that's where I get the fun now where I have to keep playing because I went through I've always been playing, but I went through the briefest period where I didn't have a band or something pulling me out to perform live, and I kind of wonder why people who don't perform even play guitar. I forget that there are people who I go to Guitar Center and I'm thinking, well, what band's this guy in? He's buying a Paul Reed Smith and all this stuff. And he said, no, he's just some guy who plays guitar. I'm like, why? You just play guitar for fun? That's a thing? I forget that. Yeah, most people play music just for the joy of it. So I think my big thing for 2026 is to get thrilled. Maybe it's going to take buying a new bass that doesn't feel like my basses. I'm so married to my Music Man 5 strings, but to challenge myself, create not a gig nightmare, but to create the anxiety that something weird is happening and give you the butterflies. Like when I know, okay, this is going to be a weird, like last weekend, where, all right, I've never played with this drummer, but we're going to make sure that no one has any clue that we've never jammed before. And because every song is going to be, well, the first time we ever played that. And by the end of the night, no, it went wonderfully. So it's good to have the luxury of having enough confidence from the experience. I don't know what gig nightmare you could throw at us. I mean, shows shut down. Pow. We've had our. Oh God, that sucked. When we were playing University of, it was Sacred Heart University's huge. It was my first arena show where they have like a hockey thing like hanging down like a scoreboard in the box. So, cool. But of course, our smoke thing set off this fire detectors, so everyone has to leave. So it's gonna be the biggest, wildest crowd. But just as we were getting going, our smoke machines, all the alarms go off, and everyone left, and they all just went home. So that's a personal gig nightmare. But we brought that on ourselves. I mean, I guess I have more than I thought. How did you jar the thought? I guess it depends on what your criteria of a gig nightmare is. But if I'm on stage, I'm in heaven, really. It's the nightmare was being scared to go on stage the first time, where I said, "Oh my God," I was so nervous. I said, "All right, I'm either have to sell this bass tomorrow or get my act together because I'm scared shitless." And fortunately, our guitarist in my first band when I was 13 he's still the best guitarist I've ever seen. He teaches at Hart School of Music. He happened to be a prodigy at 13, and the drummer was a monster. And he played Star Spangled Banner on Memorial Day, and I was figuring no one's going to be watching me anyway. So I realized, surround yourself with the right people. And the only other time I was nervous was going on stage with Suicidal Tendencies in front of 2,000 people. No one had ever seen a punk show that big. And I was so nervous, I just said, this is going to be great. I taught myself into just saying, it was jumping out of an airplane. I was first on the stage. I said, okay, here we go. I have to go up there. It was pitch black. I just grabbed my Rickenbacker, jumped up on the stage, and the wind of people screaming, and it was insane. And I was through, and then the lights went up. I realized it was an airplane hangar practically full of people. And there's 4,000 eyes. All right. Oh, I'm not plugged in. So but it's like there's so many things could go wrong. And we'd written a song backstage because we were a poppy punk band, and Suicidal Tendencies was at the peak of their MTV fame. There was people outside in the snow wanting to get in. No one had ever seen anything like. There's just gangs of people. It was wild. And we're backstage. They're going to eat us alive. So we'll play our hard songs first, but we wrote an intro backstage that was super, super heavy. So he said, they're going to decide in 10 seconds whether we live or die. And I say he was right, to his credit. We came out with something super, I can still play it because it saved our life. But that was an instrumental. We never played it again. It got them. They literally, once we started playing it, all of a sudden people started falling from the roof, which I know they were hanging in the rafters, sitting in the rafters. Back then you'd climb up the rafters, and we did rope class. Kids were in shape, and they jumped in, and they were the first stage diving I ever saw because there was usually no stage. And so to see people like they're coming up, what do we do? I was just trying not to hit people and go out. I don't even know if I was in tune, but that was my 5th concert that I ever gave. And so after that, I went and we went outside. There's absolute suicidal Vado guys, and no one had ever seen the Ice-T look with the Pendletons buttons and the glasses and the bandanas. After the Crips and the Bloods became popular, okay, that. But Snoop was not a thing. So when South Boston came, and the Hells Angels came, and the Boston Skins came, and they all came. But then the Suicidal Tendencies guys, and it was, oh my God, what is going on? It was terrifyingly exciting though. It was a Dogtown skateboard team, and I'm a big skater, so I couldn't have been more thrilled. I was 16. We sold. We're sitting backstage, and our merch guy shows up. What are you doing? Who's watching the merch? He goes, we have no merch. We sold everything. So we haven't even played yet. We've sold out of our album, just our entire run of this one. Actually, I found a new old stock.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, holy crap. So that was, we left, we went home with just all this. That's when I realized this is fun. And I decided I'm going to do this probably, hopefully forever. But forever just meant till I was like 22. And so I keep having a new rebirth. I say, how much longer can I do this? And eventually they'll stop calling. I feel eventually they're going to stop calling. I figured we can only fool the kids so long. I figured live music itself would disappear by now. I thought DJs were going to overcome, and they did for a while, really bite into us. Things like karaoke and all that competing for. But I'm loving even going back to vinyl just says, no, we like the purity of a real human being. Keep your AI, keep your freaking avatars. Then when we go out, we're literally sweating on you for $5. People do get a charge because they're you can spend 300 and see Rush and it'll be great. But I'm going to sweat my ass off and play for 3 hours. All of us are, and it'll cost you maybe $5. It's gonna like less than you're gonna tip $5 soon. So and that keeps me going. We have to make ourselves worth it. I don't like when I see live cover bands get thrown together, or just don't go through the motions. Or on the cover band sites, and I'm one of the big people. Everyone tries to get about. Nobody cares if you use an iPad. And I go, I do. If you're sitting there with an iPad blocking your no, could you perform instead? I'm a stickler that way. Freddie Mercury didn't have an iPad. Deo! No, it's like you don't walk around Shakespeare with your scripts. You rock. You get out there and you rock. You know your part or don't do the song. Okay, if you're subbing, that's different. But I don't know. I think the biggest crime would be faking it. I don't know. You said you're not gigging tonight, though. You're gigging tomorrow. Do you play in? How many bands do you actually work with? Are you just a gun for hire? Or do you have a steady one that you invest your efforts in?
It's kind of a blend of things. Like for the past 2.5 years, I've been doing 80s Revolution,
Right.
New Jersey 80s tribute band.
Would you call them your like they take priority if they get the booking? They're your primary.
As of right now, I guess you could say that just because, well, it tends to be the busiest project that I do. When that gig's not happening, I'm usually booking my acoustic trio, the 20-somethings. We're called that because we're all in our 20s.
You're in your 20s still. You kids today.
26.
Okay. God bless you.
Yeah. So then there's that. I work with a country singer down in Nashville named Jenny.
That's how I was seeing some interesting things you did. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You've done all that, your mid-20s. God dang. All right, good for you.
With her, she has a metal project as like a side project that we did like a week in Europe earlier this year, opening for Tarja and Marco from the band Nightwish, if you're familiar.
That's the thing, and just by following peripherally, I'm like, I don't know them, but they're obviously something, and it's so neat how you can actually find the music these days. Where are they? Well, they have 400,000 followers somewhere. Like I think, but I was thinking about Bad Bunny the other day, and I'm looking at it's like, look, he played to soccer stadiums in Poland. And I'm thinking, there is no way a Puerto Rican record could have even gotten to Poland just 12 years ago, frankly. There's no way anyone would have ever even heard your music. Back when you were literally sending them, mailing them to people, like, you want my record, you had to send $4, we'd send you the EP. The distribution and the ability to get famous anywhere is insane now. So that's, I think, the big thing for musicians now is it better or worse? We don't have record companies sending us on tour and paying us and whatever and organizing it. And I do think the quality of it's harder to find good music. I liked it more when the record companies were kind of breaking it out. You knew who the talent was. Because now I can't even find it. People were there, but it's exciting that you find a random bands popping up everywhere. The freedom to make yourself as big as you want. It's liberating, and yet I hear just as many people who hate it. I don't know if I would have liked it as much. I kind of liked, but coming up where by having an EP that we pressed ourselves, it kind of showed we were serious. It was there was a price of admission, and by having a 7, and that, like when I joined Big Gulp from Chronic Disorder, they were kind of just like a fun band. They were my buddies from high school, is all that. So it was inevitable that we jam. But I said, I'll do this, but we have to be a real band. And the only way to be a real band is we have a record, because we're just 4 idiots who say we're in a band until we can say, no, we got an album. And then okay, you're a real band. And that put us in the list with when you'd go in the magazines and you go Agent Orange, Adrenaline OD, Black Flag, Big, when we're in that list, and so that kind of puts you in the place where by spending a little bit of money, just say, I'm serious, you get on radio. And that's how Chronic Disorder got signed. We put out an album, then we put out another album right after, and the major label said, all right, they wrote 42 songs within a year. there's something there. And that's all that was like the currency of the time. Husker Du and Minutemen were, the REM got signed by Warner Brothers, which really was the beginning of the alternative going, the college radio thing going legit was when REM got signed. And then Husker Du and Minutemen said, let's show we can write songs. Because that's all the label said. This is a great album. What else can you do? Oh, that's great. What's your next song sound like? So we just said, we put out the album, then we said, let's do another one real fast. And so to do that, that's exactly what it came down to, is just keep it moving. And it's been a wild ride. I don't think I'd ever want to write originals ever again because they'd be so self-indulgent. It would be just stuff that only I wanted to hear. And the minute I wrote something for mass accept that I thought, oh, people will like this. Now I'm already compromising my artistic. I'm writing something for other people. So I don't know if I could. I think maybe original music is something only people in their 20s can do. Kind of like stand-up comedy. Once you become rich and famous and old, you can't write. Comedians don't get funny anymore. They don't get in their 40s. No, you have to be broke and ugly and in your 20s and struggling. No one wants to hear old Jerry Seinfeld carry on. And I think when bands, hip hop bands especially, okay, enough about the Patron. We like the street shit more when you weren't rich, Jay-Z. And it kind of goes for Motley Crue. It's like, no, you aren't living among cockroaches anymore. I think it's hard to be, or you become a Springsteen-y songwriter where it's just, you become like a poet of sorts where you can write songs in different genres. But God, on the one hand, I think I could write a pop song so easily, but AI can too. So there's really nothing special about that. I think that's going to be our thing, is where do we fit into the future? And that's going to be on guys like you. I guess you're spreading your bets where you might be working with a death metal project. It's so wild to see. Again, the crossover, the black women loving death metal. I'm like, this is so wild. I love this. We're little kids who are stuff that would never have found their palate. They're getting a charge out of Ghost or Sleep Tokens or whatever your gateway drug is into rock and roll. I'm just glad that guitars are being seen again, because I grew up, guitars were everywhere. MTV was on. It's not anymore. Every commercial, the coolest guy was the guitar player. Everyone wanted to be a rock star. I want that back. It's up to y'all. But I'll try to do my best and keep showing up until they stop calling.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you touched on a lot of really important points there. I think obviously we do unfortunately see a lot more of a trend of AI and the songwriting, or I mean even the fake AI songs that are out there. And at least they're putting now a disclaimer that says, okay, fake AI song and whatever, which I mean that's something, it's a start, but even still, it's okay, so what is going to be the future of creativity and creation, at least in pop music, where it really has for a fair amount of time just been very formulaic, doing a lot of the same kind of chord patterns.
Anyway, right, even the humans are making it kind of bland, where AI,
exactly.
we joked about how, hey, there's a formula to a country hit and we could draw out exactly when the verse, but no, AI knows that, and they can write just as good a song as a bad country artist.
Yeah, which is but it's encouraging though, because I lived in Philly for about 5 years, and I would go to house shows, DIY shows, and
yes,
shows at more indie kind of venues and whatever, and I would see all these great bands like Black Midi and etc., where it's there's so many influences coming from here, but you can't pinpoint it and say, oh, this is a derivative of this thing. It's just a genuine human creation. And there's my one buddy recommended a band called Geese. I think it was called.
Oh my God, my son is so into Geese.
Yeah,
are you sure it's not Goose? Because no, it's Geese. And no, we just missed a show, a show they did in Brooklyn, where I loved the whole notion. They were just a bunch of kids who got together in an after school sort of school of rock thing. Right, those programs are working out, and they will.
The thing is, that's what we need. It's so creative and out there. It's I can't listen. I listen to that, and I think I vaguely hear some strains of Velvet Underground, but other than that, I can't really pinpoint any direct influences. It's just something uniquely original that AI wouldn't be able to come up with.
Bingo. That's the other thing. That on the one hand, we wore our influences on our sleeve. You could tell exactly what we were listening to, and it came through in our stuff. But like my son gets music. He puts Nirvana in the same set list as Motley Crue. And I'm thinking, no, that was the band that killed hair metal. But at the same time, but no, really, that's just because I lived through the death of hair metal and the grunge thing. No, at the end of it, it's high energy rock, and so you. At the same time, he's getting Latin music sent to him and Spanish language stuff through Spotify and think, what the hell is that? Like again, I would never have found. I spent $80 to get a Midnight Oil cassette just to get 2 songs that I never thought. Like we would spend tons of money on bootlegs. I got to get my disc guys. I have so many records that people would probably love to hear that have not been. But music finds you in so many ways that I think you're finding these 6-year-old Vietnamese girls who shred. That wasn't a thing, man. It's incredible how and they have access to the learning tools. Like I'd have to, we bought videotapes, the Starlinks video series, $50, and I got 12 bass riffs that they taught you how to do it. But with YouTube and just the endless, I guess that is the plus side of what I said. On the one hand, we don't have the gatekeeping that the record labels were really good at. You realize that there was a time when in the 80s, the stars were stars. Right now there's so many. You could line up the 20 most famous TikTok billionaires, and I wouldn't recognize a single one of them. But when you look at the 1984 Video Music Awards, it's Cyndi Lauper, Lionel Richie, Prince, Duran Duran, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Elton John, Tina Turner, Bryan Adams. Every flipping person is a unique superstar in their own. Huey Lewis, and just absolutely everyone was unique and different and had a vibe and a look. And now I just don't know without the hierarchy of number one albums meaning what they used to mean, and I don't know who's got the heat anymore. But or if there's Taylor Swift and then there's everybody else, I guess. But I am hopeful for the state of future of rock concerts, and I'm hopeful that I'm trying to be like just you paying concert fees and dealing with big arena concerts and the thousands of dollars you're gonna have to spend to do them is making it prohibitive for a lot of people. So I love when we can give you a free night of entertainment at a casino, dude. Bring your date, hang out, and we'll play for 3 damn hours. It'll be a 4-hour night. You and your date you don't have to pay a dime. I'm hopeful that there's a market for that for a good long time. Again, seeing as long as we feel it and own it and really serve the songs and serve the music itself. And I guess I'm just waiting for the day when my big gig nightmare will be the day when I say I can't do it anymore. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I think I'm going to die on stage. And I don't know that would be such a bad thing. I think it would be poetic justice. There have been nights when I felt like I was about to die on stage, but I definitely like when that's my workout now is I'll push for like, hey man, I'm here all night, and these people are paying money to see me. Let's give them a damn show. I'm jumping off that, and yes, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to stop. I'm never going to stand still the entire time. And that's kind of my obligation. So the nightmare would be if I was immobile, couldn't do the show I wanted to, or if my hands stopped doing what they want, what I want them to do. I guess that was really my biggest gig nightmare. It was in Lake George at our favorite club, King Neptune's. And I turned to my drummer, all right, yeah, let's go, buddy. And he goes, the first song was Boys of Summer. And it was the Atari's version. Big beginning. And he goes, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, does he think it's Summer 69? What is he misreading the set list? Buddy, what? Oh, God. And if it was anyone but him, I think, was he drinking too much? Is he high? But this is a person who never did that because they had a blood issue that kept him from, they said, I can't drink because I have this blood flow thing. And he was having an episode at that moment. I think, oh, gosh, first song of the night. And I knew that everything was wrong. I said, guys, call 911. I did it before. And they're, why is it? Call 911. I just knew something was, that was probably my biggest gig nightmare. And it was never quite the same since, but he was a phenomenal drummer who came back a bit, but the time, nature always wins, and the passage of time will always Gosh, I just hope I can go out like Ozzy. But I don't need to play at my own wake, but I need to feel that if I could have that sense of closure and validation and look back and say, "Yep, that's what I meant to do." I guess that's what I'm aspiring to. I'm over 30 years older than you, young man. So I look to you to really do. I get excited when young people are as excited as you are and about what we do in this. We need more like you. So thanks for doing this and being so curious.
Well, it's fun. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun.
I guess you smile. You're not. You smile by default. I like that. I can tell you're in your element. It's like you just like being around rock and roll. So you probably go to guitar stores to hang out and just
Yeah.
smell the pedals and stuff.
Yeah.
And just being around creative people it's inspiring. Just what hanging around with weirdos. That's I've always just been drawn to the people who think they're songwriters or who waste their time at open mics because they really just want to play music. I think that's so cool. And so we just got reconnecting with that because, yeah, like I said, it had become such a treadmill. That's like, do I just keep doing this forever? What am I supposed to do next? I don't know. I'm at the point where I could just as easily wind down, but kind of like for the same reason that Bob Dylan's on his perpetual tour and Willie Nelson literally said, "Oh, if I stop touring, I'll die." And I used to think he was
Believe
joking,
it.
but he means it 100%. It's like the only thing keeping him going is like, I got to be in St. Louis next week. I can't. But if you said it made him sit home for 5 days, I'm as I get older, I think you can just kind of turn yourself off and go, nah, I don't like I was Mick Jagger and Bruce Springsteen. They don't need the money. But Mick Jagger's 81 and he's training because he's got a tour of Europe next summer and he's like eating right. He's having the time of his life. So that's what I want. Keith Richards is doing, for all the things he's doing wrong, he's doing a lot right. So to find that right balance, make rock and roll work for you. My biggest influence is my dad, who worked for CBS Records as a salesman up until 82 when they fired him when video games were becoming big. But he worked in the New England. He was the New England regional sales dude for CBS Records at a time when his first project. Okay, here's 4 bands we need you to help break: Bruce Springsteen, Boston, Aerosmith, and Billy Joel. You think you can do anything with that? I'm going to try. And all 4 of them, just by regional, they blew up. And so it was like some brilliant guys. I don't know, but there's those any gold records you see back there were just him being able to be in the right place at the right time. But and he'd have rock stars around, and I saw that it was weird seeing all the moms look funny at some guy, one of the rock stars is drinking a beer in the morning, and my dad goes, "He's a rock star. He can do whatever he wants." And once I heard that, I'm like, "Oh, this is totally what I want to do." You could drink in the morning. I didn't even want to drink, but it just seemed like you could do whatever you wanted if you were in the rock star. If you were a rock star, you go wherever you felt like, and people needed access passes to get around you. So he made it seem very romantic, but he died young from celebrating the rocks from Rockstar Excess. He just drank too much, which was easy to do. You didn't once he retired, every day was a Saturday for him, I guess, and you didn't. They didn't have warning labels on beer. You shouldn't drink all the time. He wasn't a. He just was a happy guy. So it's kind of once I outlived him, I realized, okay, this is all borrowed time. Let's go build off of that. He took me to my first Springsteen show, and he really got me my first concert scene in Chicago with Terry Kath and doing 25 or 6 to 4. My face was
Nice.
melting. I'm like, this is insane. What's going on? Because I wanted to be a show off. I was a little skateboarder. I was like, hey, look at me. It was my old thing. So I want to do that. Yeah, they let you just do that. And I didn't know. Thought I wanted to play guitar, but it was a Louis Johnson video where he was beating the crap out of his bass. Like, I want to do what he's doing. How does that even make music? Oh, you want to play bass? He said, like, yeah, whatever. That thing that goes, that one, in Low Down by Boss Gags, that sound. You want to play bass. And then they gave me the bass. Oh, good. It's only 4 strings because I couldn't get my fingers to play a G chord on a 6 string when I was a kid anyway. So it became bass and nothing but the bass. I have this piano. I have all this. I thought I was going to get good at acoustic and learn piano. Nah, I'm just focusing all my energy on being the best bass player I can be and being able to make sure I can play anything, any style, whatever. How about you? Do you play other instruments or are you mostly just focused on guitar and stuff?
I'm best at guitar, but I've played bass in a few bands. I played drums in the high school jazz band.
You can play jazz drums? Oh, you're one of those guys. Jeez, see, I
Well,
don't have that.
I can do a very simple thing. I don't do it enough to like say I could go fill in with the jazz at the Lincoln or anything like that.
You can fit it if you can play drums at all. I think I intentionally don't let my. That's I guess that's the thing about being in one realm. Whereas my musical time is spent in even the Playboys being a bass player. Well, if I was a dilettante, yeah, I'd love to learn the whole play songs on my piano here, or be able to pull out a guitar and do an acoustic show someday. But nah, they're hiring me for the bass. That's what I'm a punk rock bass player who just
Yeah,
they keep calling me. I don't get it.
so you touched on that a little bit earlier, where it's like, okay, the idea of like learning new stuff and like learning things for fun, but it's like it gets to a point, especially like if you are gigging all the time. Okay, yeah, you can spend one that I was working on 2 years ago was Cliffs of Dover, Eric Johnson.
Oh gosh, yeah, I love that.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
oh, this is gonna be so much fun. But then at some point, maybe I'm halfway through it, just slaving away at it. And I'm thinking, but what's the utility purpose of this? When am I ever going to play this? I'm just going to kind of play it for fun, but then I'm not going to play it for fun and I'm going to forget it. And it's like, I mean, like, I guess through that whole time, you'd be like doing like good things that'll help your technique and whatnot. But
I got super self-indulgent in the 80s when it was, if I heard a cool bass part, I had to learn how to play it. And it was, I don't care who, Victor Wooten or well, Flea was Fishbone, whatever, but I'd sit there and like work on all these bass riffs. Like, where am I going to play this? I'd go to Guitar Center and try out gear, and I maybe I just show off in the bass room is about all you could do with any of these techniques. I realized I wasted a lot of time learning all this contrapuntal stuff. Well, then again, I didn't know that you could go on YouTube and be there are these bass guys on YouTube. It's like, yeah, Charles Berthoud and all these guys, Davey 505. Yeah, that's me. If this was a thing, that's all I would have done. That's all I did in my room was let's do a two-handed tap version of this song. I didn't know anyone cared about that. I was like, that's dumb bass player crap. But turns out people love the bass. So I'm also I always like to use the apology. I'm just the bass player. I'm not the cool. I'm not the front man. I just want to be the bass player in the back. Don't. I want to be the foundation. But I
so
love
let me
it.
ask you.
Never say you're just the bass player. You're the glue that holds the drummer and the guitar. So you're what I dance to. And I'm like, yes, I like you. I like this attitude where I'm in. People were slapping the bass. They love the good bass solo. They'll leave during a drum solo, but if you pull out a bass solo just right at the right time, oh, out come the bass. It's like the one instrument, the underdog instrument that the weirdos gravitated towards bass for a reason. But yeah, at this point, I have no interest in playing anything else. It's right for me.
Sure. So let me ask you, obviously, so you've been doing this for a while, and I'm sure you've played with a million different people. What's more useful? Because when I was younger, I obviously, I wanted to be like a shredder. I wanted to be like Eddie Van Halen, Yngwie Malmsteen, Alan Holdsworth, anyone like that. But eventually, like after seeing all those videos of like 6-year olds in China just being able to do all this stuff so much better than I would be able to do with even like 5 years of straight practicing or whatever, it made me start thinking, well, instead of like just trying to be like a ridiculously good guitar player, I'd rather be a little bit more well-rounded where it's like, okay, I'm a pretty good guitar player, but I can also sing. I can also like put on
for sure
performance, etc. And I kind of have switched to more of a viewpoint where it's better to be like a good performer and all-around musician as opposed to just a really good guitar player.
2,000,000%. That's kind of the way I look at when I talk about the hierarchy of becoming a real the proper musician. You start off, you're a guitar player and you're working on or bass player, and you just want to get good. And then you become a musician where, okay, now I'm playing guitar with other people and making music. Okay, so my bass part, I don't play when you play. I do play when you play the drum. And so it goes from guitar player to musician. Then you become an entertainer. It's like, can you bring this? Can you do it in a band, in a gig? Can you play with other people and actually put on a show that other people want to see and will pay money for that? They'll say, oh, that actually sounded good. The guitar player, then you go musician, entertainer, and then if you nail that, then it's performer. And that's where I got my bass overhead, and I know that I'm shredding some riff because I did it a million times, and then people go, wow, that guy's done this. I put in the 10,000 hours, and it's like, that's what I want you to see is like, yeah, anyone can play this song, but no one's playing it right, like do it with this, you just splayed out doing this theatrical gimmick or choreography thing that I've been doing, and I know I can still. That's the thing. Give them something to see, because yeah, any 6-year-old Vietnamese girl can play that G on the guitar. But it doesn't mean don't learn it. I think it's I love that I have that in the arsenal. And so when you see the musicians in the crowd like that, where they'll notice, it's like they'll make a foot, and I think, oh, he noticed, and I'm still fretting that, but I did that little glide. Yeah, is that tasty shit? So, then you can put in those little components to just care about your performance, and it'll come through. And the musician, I still like to play for the guitarist. So I don't want to. I want the respect of my fellow musicians, because that's the highest form. I just still crave that, where when a musician says you're good, it's like. And I got a charge on it, because I remember my first show, just like, even just the sound guys were so intimidating. I'm like 13, and they had racks of all this stuff and lights. And they go, plug in this, and it's a direct box. I'm like, what do you mean? This is not an amplifier. I didn't know what to do. And I'm like thinking, someday I want to do this so much that I can tell the sound guys that they're wrong, because I just felt so out of sorts around people with those grumpy old sound men lifers. And now I love being the old dudes like, you're running the microphones wrong. Blah, blah, blah. I can tell them, it's like, no, you're doing this. I'm the crotchety old guy who's seen it all. But that's just, when people say, what's the secret to your longevity? How did Kick stay around 25 years? Like, well, we didn't break up. That's all it comes down to. How have I stayed married 30 years? You don't get divorced. How have I worked for 20 years at my job? You just don't stop. And I kind of what I was saying is, you don't, if you stop, a lot of things might stop with us. I'll be doing it as long as they let me. I think there was a time when I wanted to retire and thought, I'm too old for this shit. I'm 50. What am I going to do? No one wants to see a 50-year-old jump around on stage. And but I mean, I'm 57, and the college girls in Boston assume I'm 30 something. Anyone older than 24 might as well be 30. And at that point, I can just, they keep calling. Like I said, they keep calling. Well, we got a bunch of shows there next year. So again, it will be obvious when it's time to pack it in. But even then, I'm finding, I used to hate the tribute band idea, but I could see a few tributes that I would like to do justice, because I think that's the thing that your generation is going to be charged with, is as the real bands fade, the old people who say it's not Queen without Freddie are going to realize, yeah, everyone's dead now. Do you want to hear Queen or not? It's going to, the only way you're going to hear Pink Floyd is if you go to see these Pink Floyd cover bands. Accept it and move on. It's like, and some are great. Some of the Rush tribute bands are probably going to sound better than Rush is going to on their next tour, frankly, with Geddy's voice. So to keeping the music alive and the spirit of live rock, I'm so glad to see that live rock and roll, the excitement of bands like, just genres I don't even listen to, Falling in Reverse, they have a thing going, or the really hard metal communities. Like, wow, you get a lot of people still for that. Europe and Latin America, holy crap, did they get the memo in Argentina? They rock so hard. That's how I want to see, like, a Latin American rock show, a Maiden show in like Chile or something. Like, show me how to do that. I want to see that kind of, or Oasis doing what they were doing and bringing like really legit British music and making people excited about that. Every band is touring this summer. Foo Fighters, AC/DC, they all announced it the same day. Bon Jovi, Rush, they're all coming. It's like the big Journey just announced they're the final tour that'll last forever. But this is like a big, I'm glad. I really thought we'd be done with rock, because rock and roll hasn't been the relevant cultural force. Just like recently I posted that rap is the first time in 30 years that there's no rap songs in the top 100. And I remember when, I remember when rock was, when I realized, wow, there's no new, we were always covering whatever the new rock song was. We just jumped right on it, even before the album was out. Counting Crows, this, that, and the other thing. New STP, we would just learn it. It was obvious. We were going to learn the new everything. New Live came out. Cool, let's learn it. And then it just got like, we haven't learned any new songs in a while, have we? No, the Daughtry song was the last song we learned. What else is out? Not much. Panic at the Disco is a band. It just kind of like, it fell apart from that. Next thing we know, we're doing like, hey, and rock just really died. The era of the first wave of the grunge, the male fronted rock disappeared, and it was falsetto voices and Maroon 5 and Justin Timberlake. And I just thought that was, and it was entirely still female. Pop music is still a female thing, but I like that the undercurrent remains for rock and indie rock. You mentioned Geese and all. I just went to CBGB Festival, and I realized I love
Oh, you
seeing
were
them.
at that? Oh, I'm so jealous.
It was just the greatest. Where just to see that many of us, and realizing it's totally okay. We used to joke about that. We're gonna be like old and gray-haired men, like moshing around, and that's exactly what it was. The band Youth of Today. Ray Capo has a big gray Santa beard. It is your Youth of Today. It's like, well, yeah, but they're unbelievably great still. So I love seeing a Harley Flanagan from Cro-Mags in his mid-50s playing like it's the last day of his life, because that's the thing. Springsteen's that whether anyone who meets Springsteen's that this might be my last show. I was like, why are you talking about that? He goes, because this could be my last freaking show. And I have to every night is I'm going to put on the best show ever. And so when I hear people say like, I get sick of playing this song, I don't want to play that, so you would not do in an original band, because Mick Jagger loves playing Satisfaction. He loves that he gets to play I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And Bruce Springsteen says he gets goosebumps every time he knows he's about to play Born to Run, because tonight might be the night he plays it the best version ever. He's still trying to do his favorite version. It's like, that's what you do, man. Because this might be someday, it will be your last show, and you probably won't know. I don't think I want to know. I went to Tony Orlando's last show, and I had to leave before he came out for the curtain calls. Like, I can't watch a guy know he's walking off stage for the last time. He's 80, killed it. It's like that just like hit me in the heart. It's like, I don't want to know that's the last. I wouldn't want to leave, and it's like, that's it, you're done. So, there's so many people, and more. Sound guy, beloved sound guy, came home after a show, had a heart attack unloading his truck, and died in his own garage, like after a gig in the middle. So there's that balance. The time marches on, and as we get older, it's like knowing your limitations, and it's mortality sucks, man. So I'm jealous of you. You're going to be able to do so many cool things and see so much. It's going to come down to you. We talk about AI as a guy who writes and does graphic design and music. It's impinged so much. It's chipping away at everything that I do. Web design, everything. Everyone thinks they're better at it. All the arts and all the creative things. That's what they're using AI for. No, AI should be balancing your checkbook and installing mufflers. Yep. Hey, let us be creative and enjoy this stuff. But it's going to be. But when I see AI art, I can say, this sucks, and other people are saying, yep, you're right. It looks like AI. It looks stupid. It'll eventually get better, but when I hear dumb AI shit, or when it doesn't know how to spell, or it can't tell letters, I like to that AI. I think we're gonna maybe hit the bubble. The bubble might burst on AI. We're putting in millions of computers running insane amounts of energy that involve insane amounts of cooling just to create artificial intelligence, where it still involves humans to decipher what the information that AI brings back. So you're not going to be able to get rid of us, person. So the sooner that I think you might actually see back like in the 60s, where it becomes more a move back towards the organic. We're going to have to become collectively more social together, because as a country, I don't think we can get much more distant. But I think we can maybe stop fighting each other so much and start right-sizing the fact that we all need jobs. We could let AI take over everything. We could also 3D print houses, and we don't need construction. We don't need anything anymore. We could do away with ourselves and not need musicians. But what fun is that?
Yeah. Well, this has been a very.
No, I could yap all day with you. I don't even know how long these are supposed to go, but I hope you got something in there.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so I guess before we wrap things up, is there anything you want to promote? Anything you're working on? Any upcoming gigs you have?
Sweet of you.
This episode coming out at this point.
Diva and the Playboys is the only thing I care about right now. DivaandthePlayboys.com or at Diva and the Playboys. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, whatever that is. Now the New England show band. We do Dion to Dua Lipa, DMX to Dropkick Murphys. You're gonna hear something you liked in there, and we've been doing it collectively for a long time. If you add our years of experience together, and it's always about the visual bombast and putting on a spectacle. not your usual bar band. It's 3 hour. We never stop. It's just nonstop. No
Wow.
breaks. It's 1 hour and it goes, and it's a thrill ride. I would love to see anybody come. We'll show you a good time. Say that you heard of me through Max's podcast, and I'll buy you a drink.
I still need to. I'm so sorry that I haven't had the chance to get out to see you guys. I mean, like, you know,
I didn't know you came this local. Eventually, I want to see you, and it's gonna be like the greatest thing. There's a couple of people where it's like, I like your stuff. Like I liked you already without even now that I've chatted. It's like, oh, you're like one of those guys. Like I'd have no problem. We could drive for 4 hours, and I'm sure I've been talking this whole time. And I want to interview you now. I wish I had a podcast because I'm sure you have as many
if
good
you have any
stories.
questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I'm sure they'll come out in due time. And no, it's been good to even make your acquaintance and establish this much. I appreciate your time, and I want to make sure I honor your. After you probably had other things going on. This is your day off. You said you deserve to rest your voice.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for being a guest here on Gig Nightmares, and thanks for keeping the music alive.
Thanks, man. If I can help anytime, just let me know. Keep rocking, buddy. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Gig Nightmares. Gig Nightmares is an independently produced podcast made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you enjoyed this week's episode, we would appreciate if you left a rating and a review for us. Gig Nightmares.